Shalom Akim. All praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Honors and salutations to you brothers doing the work of truth and sincerity. And basically this video is concerning, the DNA test that they have at the southern border, So I was watching the Hawks, which I'm going to play a few minutes of the Watching the Hawks video. And as they interview this Negro lawyer, or the Negro immigration lawyer, about how he feels about the DNA testing at the southern border. And I'm gonna also give a little bit from Democracy Now! Because, well, hey, these devils are really coming against you, Jakes, man. I mean, they really showing how they feel, and then I'm gonna get a couple of scriptures, which you can see the scriptures above already, and then I'm gonna close it out. This ain't gonna be a long video. Well, it might be a couple minutes long, only because of the videos that the clips of the videos I'm gonna show from Watching the Hawks and Democracy Now! However, hey, man, it just goes to show that the America hates you Israelites. But all right, that's enough of me just ranting. So I'm just play these clips.
The issues between the United States federal government and the thousands of families from Central American countries seeking asylum on the U.S. southern border are legion, Hawk watchers. According to the Department of Homeland Security, one of the biggest difficulties along the border is telling the difference between a legitimate family, whatever that means, seeking asylum, and human traffickers pretending to be those families. This has led to the DHS implementing a new and controversial pilot program using rapid DNA testing technology. According to the Washington Post, the standard methods for confirming kinship, like interviewing applicants or obtaining official documents such as birth certificates, are time-consuming and imperfect. Rapid DNA testing instead, quote, provides an objective, expedient, and fail-safe method for verifying family claims. However, many immigrant rights and privacy advocates are concerned about the danger of the U.S. government using DNA to help solve this particular border issue and the future ramifications it could have. Joining us now from New York to discuss is immigration attorney Alan Orr Jr. Thank you so much for joining us, Alan.
Thank you for having me.
Alan. Now, okay, this is Alan Orr Jr. I'm going to play a couple of minutes of his interview that they had with him on Watching the Hawks. And, I mean, if you want to see the whole video, just go to RT or go to Watching the Hawks. You can see the whole video. Because I only want to play a couple excerpts from it. And this whole interview was good. Actually, the whole video was informative. But, as they said, the DHS is implementing this plan to do DNA testing. And, of course, that's going to spill over into the American people sooner or later, DNA testing to see who you are. And it's going to lead to the mark of the beast as well, But for right now, they're DNA testing at the border, which they're probably doing the mark of the beast at the border. Who knows? This DNA testing is probably just some fluke about it, But he says a couple of things that made sense. So I'm going to fast forward the video to about 17 minutes. I think it's somewhere around here. 17 minutes, maybe 40 seconds. Somewhere around here. And I'm going to let it play from here.
The idea of your blood will tell us whether or not you are to be here or not. Can you tell me a little bit about that history and the problems it's caused in previous situations?
Well, tons of problems is that the tests weren't actually correct, right? One thing is the expense of doing it. That's not really the best use of our time, and personal information of doing it. So therefore, that's why there are international laws against taking a person's DNA, because that's the very basics of that person's being and sort of sharing that, as well as it's been used for other purposes. And that's really the main concern from the civil rights, that we don't know what they're using this testing for. They claim that they're going to destroy it as soon as they determine who these family members are, but that's problematic. And in the United States history, not with immigrants that came here voluntarily, but with African Americans, the Tuskegee experiment sticks out very rapidly of saying you were testing for one thing, but these tests cost something else. in the African American community, and that's the major problem here. We're not sure exactly what they're doing. They're doing it with the contractor, and we've seen time and time again that contractors fail us in these situations, even with keeping the individuals and the children safe because they're being molested and raped. So it's not the appropriate action for the federal government to take. They should take the money that they're using for this DNA testing and give it back to these communities to stop individuals from coming here, to stop the push factor for these individuals coming here, and then address it from that angle. And then if someone's coming with a young child, they should not violate that child's right or that parent's right by saying, you know what, let me DNA test you. And specifically when you're only doing it at the southern border, not at the northern border or at the airplane.
You know, it's interesting. The main argument for this is that, look, we need to stop human trafficking. That, we get family. If the family comes in, a group of people come in and they all claim their family, they could be lying. They could actually be human traffickers and that kind of thing. What do you say to that argument? What about that argument do you disagree with?
Everything. So if it's true about that at the southern border, then it should be true about that at the northern border and at airports and at seaports, right? We're not doing that anywhere else but at the southern border. But child trafficking happens everywhere. It's not just at the southern border.
So, and just like he said, if it was a human trafficking problem or that U.S. was really looking for, they'll do it at every border and every point of entry. If you watch the whole video, he would say every point of entry, if they were really looking for human traffickers. But it's only at the southern border where the Israelites are coming in at, or the Israelites are trying to seek asylum from, So, I mean, it tells you enough right there. But this is another clip from Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!, and I wanted to play this clip as well.
Amy Goodman. The Trump administration admitted Wednesday a 10-year-old girl from El Salvador died in the custody of Department of Health and Human Services last September, making her at least the sixth child to die in recent months after crossing into the United States from Mexico. The Office of Refugee Resettlement described the girl, who is not named, as medically fragile, said she died of fever and respiratory distress in it.
And yes, they still got them in prison camps. The immigrants from the southern border that's applying for asylum. The one that first they were saying they were sneaking across the border, which was BS. They're applying for to come into the U.S., which if they knew better, they wouldn't come to this shithole country, as Trump so affectionately put it when he was talking about the countries where Jake come from. I mean, this is the real shithole country. If a country is a shithole after America has been there, then who made it the shithole? It's this place, man. But anyway, they still got them in concentration camps, prison camps over there by the border. Now they're DNA testing them, and just like Amy Goodman said, now they're claiming that 6 immigrant children then died. Not to mention the ones that are lost and they can't find their parents, or they can't ship them back to their parents for whatever reason, because most likely the real human traffickers are the Americans.
Omaha, Nebraska hospital. Wednesday's disclosure drew protests from Democratic lawmakers who accused the Trump administration of covering up the death for 8 months. 5 other children, all of them from Guatemala, have died in U.S. custody or shortly after being released over the last 8 months. Before last year, no child died in immigration custody in over a decade. On Wednesday, lawmakers on the House Homeland Security Committee grilled acting DHS Secretary Kevin McAleenan about the deaths. This is Illinois freshman Democratic Congressmember Lauren Underwood.
At this point, with 5 kids that have died, 5,000 separated from their families, I feel like, and the evidence is really clear, that this is intentional. It's intentional. It's a policy choice being made on purpose by this administration, and it's cruel and inhumane. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
That's an appalling accusation, and our men and women fight hard to protect people in our custody.
That's an appalling accusation. It is policy. Now you DNA testing. But that's Satan for you. And then they got it in all the uproar when she said, it's the truth. Let you know that these devils cannot handle the truth, man. I mean, that is just the truth. It is policy to separate families from these Israelites, these Northern Kingdom Israelites, because that's who they really are, and blood test them to make sure they are Israelites. And basically, and most likely, they organ donate these Israelites. That's why they die. And the ones that can't be found, the 5,000 that can't be sent back to their families, is in human trafficking somewhere, done by the U.S. to make a little money, because that's what these devils is all about. That's why I have this scripture here, 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage over us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. When Satan do these things, we know why he's doing it. Human trafficking, yes, he's selling them into slavery, selling those children into slavery, and he's donating those children's blood and organs after they murder them. That's what they're doing, and that is U.S. policy, lest you forget.
President Trump grew frustrated with lawmakers Thursday in the Oval Office when they floated restoring protections for immigrants from Haiti, El Salvador, and African countries as part of a bipartisan immigration deal, according to several people briefed on the meeting. Why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here? Trump said.
So Trump let you know, why is all these people from shithole countries coming here? If nothing else, might as well make some money off of them. And that's basically what these devils are doing. Lest Satan should get an advantage over us, 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage over us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And I also pulled this up, Jeremiah 15:5, for who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Who shall bemoan thee, or who shall go aside and ask how thou doest? They ain't asking how you doing. They mad that this is policy, and she pointed that out on them. They don't care about you Israelites. It's like Trump said, shithole countries.
Countries come here, Trump said. All these people from shithole countries come here.
Why do all these people from shithole countries come here? That's Trump. That is America in a nutshell. Because when they refer to Americans, they are not referring to you tribes, you so-called Negroes, Indians, Latinos. They are not referring to you when they refer to Americans. Americans look like Donald Trump. And like I said, this wasn't going to be a long video. I just wanted to inform the Brotherhood, if you don't already know, about the DNA testing at the southern border, specifically the southern border, talking about looking for human traffickers trying to make sure these kids belong to these families, which is bullshit. Just like she said at the beginning, that this is not something that is normal to use to determine family. DNA testing, so you know it's some BS. And then of course now the 6th child has died within a year, from immigrant separation. Over 5,000 is separated from their families. That is human trafficking all day. But who's separating them from the families? It's the United States. So, we know what these devils are doing and what these devils are up to. Selling slaves. Selling most likely sex slaves, because they're all children. And these devils do not care. We're doing our best to keep these children safe. My ass, man. It's bullshit. It's just like when you talk about how many deaths of Jake goes on around this country. Oh, they did this, they did that. But if an Edomite died by the hands of a so-called black cop, then he gets life in prison. Or is it 35 years? These devils, man, you devils are already finished, man. The gig is up already. I mean, you still got these assholes that's still fighting for you. 2/3 still fight for the devil, because they ain't fighting for none of the other nations, because they're blind as hell, and they're going to be judged for it. But really though, hey, I mean, the point to this is basically that they're doing DNA testing over the border, and they probably chipping those immigrants now. And the chip is coming soon to America anyway. And this is about how much this country do not care about you Israelites. You better wake up soon before it's too late. With that, I say shalom.